Hey folks, welcome to Heart&Slash. This isn't gonna be a traditional sort of playthrough because this game kind of has a overall progression to its storyline. This is going to be a playthrough of the true ending, I guess, run. I've been playing the game quite a bit. I think I've clocked around 30 hours on it. Alright, we are Heart, this cute little guy right here. A lot of personality. He's a fun little dude. But, as it said there, this is 100 years after the Rovolution, which the events of this game are kind of post-apocalyptic. Skynet has taken over the world and eradicated humanity, and then we're kind of a bug in the system. We're Heart, and there's something not quite right with us that, we've decided we don't want to be like every other robot, so we're gonna escape, and we're gonna set ourselves free and wear nice suits. So this is Heart&Slash. It is a hack-and-slash roguelike kind of fusion, and we'll get into that as we play, but yeah, Heart is the primary character that you play as. He's the main character of the story, and well, let's just get a little bit of background here. Oh. So that was maybe a little bit more background than I was bargaining for. I will probably mark this video with some spoilers, because there's plot-relevant stuff going on here, which I'll try and explain, but as I said, because this is the true ending playthrough, there's some stuff here that's going to be a little out of context that I'll try to explain. So, Quasi is a quality assurance AI. It's essentially like, it is Skynet, if we're going to continue along that trail of thought. It starts out, it's Dr. Sympathic, or something like that. It's kind of like sympathetic, I don't know. Dr. Kindness. But, it starts out, that character that you saw there, that character profile, or, they're like your creator, they're the scientist who made Heart. And also, I guess, by extension, Quasi and all the other robots that you see in the game. But something goes wrong, and even though we see here it looks as though the Doctor is still kind of helping us through, which is how the game starts. Quasi is, I don't know if it's Quasi or Quasi, but they're kind of, the veil... The veil is up, and, we know what's going on now, so they're not being so kind to us or keeping up a facade. But usually, you'd be seeing, this friendly doctor telling you, oh, you gotta escape, go this way. In reality, it is Quasi. I don't know. I guess I just have to stick with one, so I'll just stick with Quasi and then... So essentially all we know right now is we're trying to escape. We want to reach the space elevator, as we find out later. But for right now, we're just trying to get out of the factory where we were created. And what ties together pretty nicely the roguelike element is the fact that being a robot, if you get destroyed, they kind of rebuild you, piece you back together. And then, of course, you know, something inside you goes wrong and you just go crazy trying to escape again. Maybe at some point gets a little bit predictable. You know, you'd think they do something else, just scrap you or something, but it works well enough in context that, you don't question it too much. It's fun. And there's at least some small reasoning behind, oh, you know, my character's dying, but they keep coming back at the beginning here. So, enough on this story. The mechanics of the game, very kind of free-flowing. This game feels really good to play, and I mean, I can't say it enough. It depends on the playthrough you see. Really, right now we have a pretty standard loadout, mostly melee weapons, but this game really does go above and beyond in terms of the kind of weapons and even the armor you get. Not so much armor here, we have like this fancy business suit, but yeah, there's a lot of different stuff. And something I'll check out here is your upgrade screen. We have, for each weapon and each piece of armor, we do actually have upgrade options. And you see on the top right, we actually started with a full setup of scraps. I'm trying not to use too many of them too quickly. But basically, those scrap heaps, the boxes, allow you to upgrade your weaponry. If that's not to your fancy, though, and you're a little wanting for health, you can recycle parts that you don't need to get some health back. We don't need that right now, but if we wanted to, we could. Actually, you know what? Something I will show off right now is that if we get rid of... speed hurts. I don't like this one this much, so I'm gonna get rid of it. If you look at our health bar, increases by 1 max heart when we recycle something at full health. So that goes into the strategy of recycling as well. And that's kind of a neat thing. I will say the mechanic gets a little less feasible towards the end of a playthrough, because you start to not get as many new items, especially in the last area. There are a couple opportunities potentially, but I find a lot of the time, aside from what item you get at the beginning of the last stage, they don't give much to you. So we took a hit there. These taser pole guys are probably one of the trickier enemies for me. You really have to kind of bait and attack and then counterattack with them, otherwise you'll probably take a hit. They're not safe to just run up and smack, but I wasn't thinking there. But, yeah, what was I explaining? Oh, right, so recycling. Early game, it's really useful and really important, in fact, that you kind of get a good understanding of it. The developers of the game, the company's A Heartful of Games, they're talking about actually implementing some kind of tutorial, something along the lines of just explaining to you the workings of the recycling system and how it ties into gameplay. You know, it's not immediately clear how important it is, you know, and it's kind of a thing that's easy to miss if you just want to jump in and play the game as, you know, what it is, a hack and slash. But it's a good thing just to learn about and have a good grasp on. So yeah, it's a hostile first impression of the game and its storyline, really. I do, in some ways, wish that I just, you know, started the game back over again. But for sake of this, I don't really want to commit to doing a playthrough, a full playthrough, storyline and everything of the game, which, you know, a roguelike you only really want to see so many times, especially in video form. So I figured I'd just do this culmination, you know, true ending playthrough for you guys and let you decide from there on out if you like it or not. Which maybe is counterintuitive, showing you the ending, but I think the game still has its merits playing through the storyline, getting an idea of it, and mechanically it's just a lot of fun. I think it's worth playing just for the idea alone of a hack and slash combined with a roguelike. I think they executed this very well. And just a little more info about the game. It was actually kickstarted. I think it was for $20,000 this game was funded for. A little bit above, maybe. I don't recall exactly what the number was. But I was a backer. I backed about $20 or $25. I got 2 copies, one for me and one for Allie. And she hasn't tried it out yet, but I hope she will. Maybe this will be good incentive. Allie, if you're watching this, play the damn game. No, I joke, but it is really good, and I do highly recommend it if you're in the mood for a roguelike that does things a little differently, or a hack and slash that, you know, has a decent amount of replayability to it. Like I said, I've clocked 30 hours, so the game has certainly done something right. I hate you. So the other unit that Kwasi is talking about, Slash, is, of course, the other half of the main title, Heart&Slash. He, or she, apparently, officially they state it as a she, but they're all robots, so it doesn't really matter in the end. They're another defective robot who's trying to resist against Kwasi and all of these robots, the robot uprising and all that good stuff. So you encounter them first, kind of going through the factory, trying to escape, and you gain their freedom as well, just as you are. So you have similar goals in mind, but when you first meet them, they think that you're just another one of the mindless robots trying to stop them from escaping. So a lot of the plot line from there is kind of getting an understanding between you two of a mutual quest for freedom, and defeating Kwasi and all that good stuff. But it ranges pretty well across playthroughs. You know, if it starts out just kind of a little mini-boss encounter that you can find, but it expands into, you know, there's a couple instances where they get captured, or you have to repair them, you know, so that they can get through the next area. It's all pretty much based on your own progression through the game world, and spans over multiple playthroughs, which is an interesting way to tell a story and a pretty effective way to do it in a roguelike. And, you know, keep the roguelike flow intact alongside the story, so it's not just the same story over again. And they do that pretty well. You know, being at the end of it, I would say there's a couple things about the game that I have critiques about that I'll get to. You know, as much as I do love it, there are some flaws about the game. Some of them just minor camera hitches or little bugs. I will say the game is currently, as I'm playing this, and as I was playing in previous videos, it is still in early access. There are still a lot of bugs being weeded out and fixed, removed, and little tweaks to the game just to make it flow better. I mean, from earlier builds, this game has improved astronomically, and the support from the developers has been really good. So I can say from, you know, early Game Jolt demos to now, they've really kind of nailed a good feel for the game. It's got a decent amount of challenge to it. A lot of variety, like I said, with the different weapon types. I really wish that there were more weapons to see throughout a given playthrough, because we're already at the room before the boss gate. I might go and explore a little bit more just to see if we can find some weapons, but it seems like it's a little scant this time around. Either way, I will probably do some more live streams of this game, maybe with the alternate characters, try a couple things out like that, but You know, let me know what you guys think. And as I was saying regarding the weapons, the city level tends to have quite a few more pickups than the factory. Although, you know, it does vary, so we'll see what happens. For right now, though, the Morning Star is a very powerful and effective weapon to start out with. I'm pretty sure this one is associated with some unlock of some sort. I don't remember them all. Like you saw, there's a huge list. I think it's like 71 achievements? Something like that. But yeah, that's something I can really commend the game on, is they nailed it with additional content. Not additional content, but like stuff that you find as you play the game, you know, as you progress. In Binding of Isaac style, or really most roguelikes, as you find new things, or as you make progress through the main game, or defeat different challenges, bosses, certain enemies, that sort of thing, you unlock new stuff so that you get better at defeating enemies and bosses and that sort of thing. I also did actually start out with a higher base health than you would normally. I forget if it's 3 or 5 hearts you start with, but on your first playthrough you will not be as kitted up as you see here. You know, we're coming from both experience and also, you know, just general upgrades over time of the game, giving us fancy things for playing it for long enough. That isn't to say, though, that, you know, you have to get those things in order to complete the game effectively, or that, you know, you'll be handicapped without those achievements. I think my first successful playthrough of the game was my 3rd or 4th run, so it really doesn't take that long to get a good rhythm going. And I think the gameplay and the balance of the game, they've tweaked it just enough that new players, once they get used to everything, you know, they get into the flow of the game. I'm speaking kind of, you know, hypothetically here, but from what I feel based on what I've played and my own personal experience playing through the game, I don't know, because I played early builds and since then the game's been updated, so I don't know how easy or hard it is jumping in. It was a little tough for me at first, but I did still manage relatively early on my playthrough count to get from start to finish. So that I would say take as a good sign, you know. Ooh. Alright. Not sure what exploded there. Are there any... I don't know, sometimes there are those big gas canisters inside the room, but I didn't see one. See, these armored guys, the chainsaw guys in general actually, can be a bit of a pain. The armored guys, the approach to them, there's no real easy way to deal with it. You kind of just have to keep smacking at their back. As you see when it flashes red, that's their weak point. That's how you know that's where you want to be hitting. I keep taking hits here. Luckily, I'm actually not taking very much damage at all. I don't know if that has to do with the armor I'm wearing or what, but I've been making a point to try not to upgrade too much, so I don't think my resistances are that high. It might be they nerfed the chainsaw guys a little bit. I wouldn't know. Maybe they're just being nice because there's so many in a single room. The ones you really don't want to get hit by are the these hammer dudes. I'm pretty sure they'll do like a heart and a half worth of damage, which is never fun. Pretty good. So just based on how we're progressing so far, I'm thinking I'll split this series up into maybe 3 or 4 different videos, or I could do one long one, but I have an impression we might end up with, like, you know, 2.5 hour playthrough, which is, you know, if you're really going through every room and trying to see everything in a given playthrough, that is probably the average. It'll get faster, of course, once we start upgrading our equipment. I'll probably start doing that soon, because we're wasting upgrade materials. You see, I'm not getting any new new upgrade points, the boxes, because I already have the max amount. Once you have, I think that's 10 maximum. Once you have 10, you'll start automatically recycling the extra points into health. So every full line of 10 screws that you get, that goes towards a half a heart, which is useful in the later levels. And like I was mentioning about the recycling system, if you do not have items to recycle anymore, as long as you've kind of stockpiled enough upgrade points, then you still do have a source of health regen. It's just a matter of killing enough enemies to get that stuff going. So it is a little bit, you know, matter of circumstance, you know, how these things happen. You will occasionally just get bad or unlucky runs, which is kind of a normal thing in roguelikes. Not anything that you can't recover from, but if you don't play your cards very carefully, it can end badly. But yeah, so I should actually try out the Steel Slicer. This is kind of like the very... Is there any reason to go in here? I'm not gonna bother. This seriously looks like bad news, so I'm gonna turn back. There's nothing there, it's a dead end, so... It's just a bad room with no incentive to go in. Maybe enemies would spawn, we could get some upgrade points from them, but really not worth it. Same thing here, actually, so I don't know why I jumped in on this as well. But yeah, usually just about every room you'll get... jeez. You'll get enemies spawning, which you can kill for extra upgrade points. And sometimes that is a really good approach, not to go immediately to the boss room, but to spend a little time killing as many enemies as you can to get as many upgrade points as possible for later on, because the city gets nasty. Or it's kind of both the city and the city and the sewers are kind of one conjoined area. There's an upside and an upper side and a lower side to that second level. You'll see when we get there. But yeah, overall the visual style of the game I think is pretty spot on. There's a lot of different customizations for Heart. As you see, we've got the suit on right now. You know, every piece of armor that you pick up, every weapon you get, everything has its own unique visual representation, which just helps give the game a little more personality from run to run. I think that's a really nice touch that they did to put the time in for that. I think the software that they used to actually make the art assets for this game, all of these kind of voxel-based characters, is called Cubicle, something like that. It's Q-U-B-I-C-L-E, not cubicle like an office cubicle, but it's a voxel art program, and it works just like you'd expect a pixel art program to, but in 3D. It's very accessible. I tried it once. I didn't find out everything about it, and I didn't, you know, get a lot done with it, but it's cool to see, you know, very kind of straightforward pieces of software used for game development these days, and making that stuff more accessible for independent developers. I'm not in the business or the development scene myself at all, but I look into that stuff. I think it's interesting. But this game was developed in Unity, and it's one of those games that really comes into its own, I feel. I think they did a great job with this. Another game I'm trying to think whether or not it had art assets made with Cubicle might be Continue. It's Continue 9 through 1, like 9876. It goes through all the numbers. It's a really convoluted title, but that's a game I played a long while ago. It was kind of an interesting one, more kind of the experience than the actual gameplay or anything, but it was neat. It was, if you've ever heard of, there's another game made by the same people, I'm pretty sure, called Skrillex Quest, and it's in the same visual style and I think with the same program. Just funny stuff like that that people have made over the years. So yeah, Cubicle, the software that was used to make the graphics in this game, has been used for a couple of other neat games. And Continue is on Steam as well. I really haven't heard anything about it. It didn't really come out to a lot of widespread acclaim or anything, but I thought it was a neat little game. If you ever see it on sale, maybe pick it up, see what you think of it. The music of this game is very bombastic. It's very exciting. Say it maybe loops a little bit too often. It's catchy enough for a while. I think it's maybe just the 30 hours of me playing. it's just gotten so familiar. It's like, all right, here we go again. I'm usually ready to get to the next areas because I think it's a little bit more. I don't know. I feel like the city and sewer music feels a little better to listen to in long sessions. The factory music is like it's really great and fitting for the game and the look of everything. But I don't know if it works well for looping. Again, I'm speaking from hearing it for so long, so it's maybe not the absolute best perspective. I think we got this message already. Yeah, we did. I will kill you. So we've got a bit of a trek back, but I think we've seen about everything. We can check out the map. Oh, no, we did miss some things. Alright, let's go back then. I'm just going to fully fill out the maps as much as possible. If we get desperate later on in the city area, I won't do that, but for now I'm just going to stick with it. So we're almost coming up on a half hour already. Like I said, I mean, if we went straight through to the boss fight, it wouldn't be taking us nearly this long, but I just want to see what we can find. Half just to show off the game and different rooms and combat and all that, and half because I would really like to get some alternate weapons just to fill out our inventory. Oops. It's very touchy. Gotta get in the right range for this weapon. But it hits so hard, it's worth it. It's very good. And we actually haven't upgraded it at all, have we? No, we haven't. Let's do those two for now. I'll consider that fair, and then once we get to the city, we'll start really upgrading stuff. I'm shirking on upgrading the 1% suit. Number one, because it is pretty expensive to upgrade. Number two, because it will completely break the rest of the playthrough more than we already kind of have. In short, the 1% suit makes it so that there are 3 upgrades on it. Every single one of those upgrades, I believe, increases the amount of experience you get per enemy by 100%. So you get a 300% increase in how many screws you get per enemy. You're getting a lot of upgrade points, to the point that we won't know what to do with it, and it'll pretty much trivialize the playthrough. Already, I mean, I think we just have a really good setup here. A very basic one, but a really effective one. The Morning Star is great. The Morning Star is great. That's all I have to say, really. And we are starting with so much base health from the achievements I've gotten over the course of my previous runs. So that also comes into account. Alright, I think that was everything. So now we can just head straight to the boss. Now sometimes there will be 2 boss rooms, so you can select which one you want to try to fight. That's kind of what I was looking for as well. I was hoping maybe we could find... it looks like we're going to be fighting the BDSS, or the Badass Knight. I think it's just the Badass Knight This is what I call them. But you can kind of tell the game gives you some really neat visual cues to who you're going to be fighting on a given run. All right, I am going the right way. Yeah, looks like it. But yeah, one of the tells is this right here, coming up in this next room. This exclamation point upside down triangle, that's how you can usually tell you're going to be fighting Badass Knight. And it's almost like biomes in some way. I don't know, it's weird to put it that way, but yeah, kind of these orangey areas usually are associated with Badass Knight. And then Frankie, who's the other boss that you can potentially end up fighting here, is okay. It's usually a more kind of run-down, abandoned part of the factory. Actually, better than the room types themselves. You can tell especially from the enemy types that you're fighting. If you get close to Frankie, you're going to be fighting more rusted, worn-down bots who are weak to fire, whereas when you're fighting Badass Knight or making your way towards him, you fight enemies that are just kind of the normal industrial robots that I think are weak to electricity, maybe? I'm not totally sure. But either way, let's go. So Badass Knight. First thing, don't jump, because his upper two arms shoot lasers, and that first attack he does will hit you if you jump in the air. At least there's a good chance it will. Also, that thing's not fun to deal with. This is my favorite of the first two bosses. I find he's the most engaging, even though he is a little bit easier. Oh, shit. He has a little more health, not health. He has a little bit more erratic and aggressive of a fighting style. I'd say he has less health, actually, compared to Frankie. Frankie is simplistic, but he's also, I don't know. I think he has, maybe it was the run I was on, but it just felt like he kind of outstays his welcome. I love the presentation of both. The designs are awesome, but Knight is, I don't know, he's got this flair to him that I find really, really entertaining to fight against. Oh shit, I haven't seen that before. Yeah, usually it doesn't last long enough for me to see some of these things. So I'm actually learning along with you guys. So as you fight him, he loses his arms and his fighting style changes. So in a way, he has phases. Something else interesting is if you use a flame type weapon on him, he actually gets buffed. I don't know if he becomes invincible, but he just, yeah, like this. You're seeing it right now. So his weapons go on fire, and you realize how badly you screwed up by giving him that, and he gets faster. I think he hits harder. He just becomes much scarier. My controller messed up for a second there. That could have been really bad. At an inopportune time. Hope that doesn't happen, but... Anyways, yeah. I like this guy a lot. He's very fun. He's kind of kicking my ass this time because I'm trying to let him show off some of his jukes and jives. But down he goes, and we are ready for the next area. Before we move on, though, I'm going to upgrade a couple things. So this one, some of the upgrade descriptions aren't actually very descriptive depending on the item. Heart himself has pretty clear ones. Evade the bullies means you get more... I don't know if it's invincibility frames or you just dodge further or faster. I think you dodge faster, but then you have better speed, jump higher, which is useful for the city stage, and then improved recycling unit. I think you get more repairs from recycling your items. So that's kind of helpful. We'll just leave it at that for now. I'm trying to pace myself with upgrades, but I think those two will be important for us for the time being.